Okay, so welcome to the Bodybuilding Lifestyle Podcast, episode 4. Today we have Louise Cooper on from Forge Gym. How are we getting on, Louise?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I feel a lot of pressure because I'm following Andy and Rob and Jack, so I feel like a relative nobody in comparison to these guys, but yeah, I'll do my best.
Yeah, I mean, you're representing the biggest kind of bodybuilding gym in the Highlands, so I wouldn't
Yeah,
discredit yourself at all.
thanks.
Um,
I'll do my
um,
best.
s- yeah, no, I'm sure you'll be fine. So, just to start off with, if you could just tell us a wee bit about yourself personally and also your kind of affiliation with the Forge.
Yeah, cool. So I guess bodybuilding, since that's what the podcast is about, I probably started training, gosh, like, must be about 15 years ago now. And I never started out in the Forge. I was kind of in other gyms because it was closer to where I worked, but always had friends that visited the Forge. So I was very much aware of it since its starting, which is actually coming up to 15 years ago as well. So I
Nice.
probably started training at a similar time to the Forge opening. And then as I moved job and just had been to the Forge often enough that kind of fell in love with the place, joined maybe about 11 years ago. And the Forge was Inverness's kind of first 24-hour gym, and so not really anything else like it at the time. It was strength sports based, so it was a very good mix of strongman and powerlifting and bodybuilding. And Gavin, who founded the Forge, was a huge advocate for strength sports in the Highlands. He took quite a lot of control over like the Highland Strongest and all those kind of things, and was always putting on events that were strength sport, even not even strength sports based, I guess, because he veered into things like mixed martial arts. We used to have a mixed martial arts club above the gym itself as well, but the
Is that
Forge
HBA
has
now, is it?
yeah, HBA, so that's
Okay.
Ross Houston. Yeah, so we've obviously had some cool people through the doors who have like done really well. So
Yeah.
Ross originally was above the Forge, has his own
Hmm.
space now. So yeah,
Yeah.
um, and then I guess I began working at the Forge post COVID. So I don't mind saying I was quite an integral part of the Forge before. I was one of the kind of Forge fam members that were always there and kind of a familiar face, and you get to know everybody. And Gavin became quite a close friend of mine actually, and still is to this day. So post COVID, we didn't actually know that if the Forge was going to survive or not. I remember having a conversation with Gavin where he was quite uncertain about the future of the Forge. And at the time, I had been training in Dean's, what would have been Dean's garage, with
I've heard about
himself
this.
and Jack. Yeah. Oh, do you know what? Like, COVID has some bittersweet memories for me. But we had a great time training in the garage. And I remember coming home and saying to the boys, oh, I don't know if the Forge is going to be around to go back to. I don't know what's happening with it. And the three of us, along with our friend Blair, had been training together for quite a while at the Forge, so the boys were having none of it. So it was like straight away, like, how can we fix this? So of course, Jack and Dean took over September 2020. And the boys both have their own jobs. Dean runs a plumbing company. Jack obviously has his normal kind of 9 to 5. So because I was so familiar with the place, that weirdly seemed like an obvious choice for me to be there. So then I left my job selling suits and kilts and became the GM of the Forge. And I've been there ever since. And I just love it. Like, it never feels like work when I'm there. And yeah, I like can't even explain how much passion I have for the place. It's my life. Like, it feels like I was meant to be there, if that makes sense. I don't know, but
Anybody
and
that's
since
spent
then,
yeah,
sorry.
anybody that spent a considerable amount of time at the Forge will vouch for you on that one. Like, I think everybody can tell that it's such an integral part for you.
Yeah, I think I've become almost like the face of the Forge. So even though obviously now it's just Dean that owns the forge fully, I don't know that people associate Dean's face with the forge, so I've just become this person that is the kind of speaker of the forge, if you'd like. So yeah, it feels like a very privileged position to be in, because I get to meet some really cool people and I get to do things that I'm passionate about, and as I said, it never really feels like work. So yeah, it's amazing. And now the forge is thriving, because obviously so we went back into lockdown early 21, I think, if I remember rightly, and during that time, again, between the four of us, myself, Dean, Jack and Blair, we gutted the place. The forge always had this really kind of old school, grimy, spit and sawdust. You had to hunt for a set of dumbbells. Like nothing was where it was meant to be, and everybody loved it. But it just needed a little bit of freshening up. So that's what we did, and that's what we've kind of continued doing, just investing everything back into the forge, buying new kit when we can. We're always painting and decorating and doing anything like to make it as close to being the best facility in Inverness as it can be. I never ever like to label the forge as the best gym in Inverness, because we don't have a swimming pool and we don't have a hot tub and all these things. So if those are the things that you're looking for, the forge is not the best gym, but it's definitely the best gym for strength sports. And if you ask me, does it have the best atmosphere and the best community and all of those other things, then yeah, undoubtedly it's the place to be. So yeah, like
totally agree.
I could talk forever about the forge. So
we have as well.
yeah, of course,
You know,
yeah.
all these conversations we've had like multiple times, but it's good to get them out there for other people to actually hear and kind of know a bit of backstory to.
Yeah.
But I find it really interesting that, I mean, you mentioned that time that you went back to the garage and you said to Dean and Jack, I don't know if the forge is going to make it. And obviously quite a lot of businesses were going through similar issues because of COVID. And it's so nice to see that it's went from that to like, is this going to continue, to where it is now?
We're so fortunate. I mean, when we opened the doors post-COVID, I think we were just under 200 members. And I think currently we're sitting probably around about 550 in total. So like huge difference. And it's not just the numbers, it's just how the forge has progressed. It still has that foundation in strength sports, but now it crosses the line between that and not quite a gen pot. So the thing I always say about people at the forge is that they take their training seriously. They're not just there just kind of jump on the treadmill for 20 minutes and to go through the motions. Like there are so many people that train at the forge that are so inspiring that it's hard not to be motivated when you're in. So yeah. I think that's the thing that stands out for me, is that's who our member are. So yes, we have a percentage of bodybuilders and we have a percentage of powerlifters and not so much strongman anymore. But everybody that comes to the forge, they're passionate about training. They're there for purpose and for a reason. So yeah, I think that's kind of what sets it apart.
I think it's good because it serves many purposes, the forge. So obviously it's got a bit of a reputation for being that hardcore bodybuilding gym, which Rob actually made a really good point when he was on for the podcast. He kind of said that it's like almost like the hub for bodybuilding in the Highlands, but it's not just that. And I think that's maybe something that you need to try and, or you've been trying to get across to people, and it's hard to break that stigma, while it still also does remain kind of like the place that the bodybuilders that are in Inverness are going there. The powerlifters are, you get visits from like Tom Stokeman and stuff like that as well. But it is also for somebody that just wants to go and train hard and get good results in the right atmosphere for it,
Yeah, we have had some really cool people through the doors over the years. Like you've mentioned the Stokemans, that's World's Strongest Man. Donna Moore, who has been, I think, 3 times World's Strongest Woman, has been through our doors. We've had powerlifters compete at Commonwealth on an international level. We've had folk like Jack compete internationally on a bodybuilding stage. We've had some really cool guys through the doors, but we've also got I think our oldest member, who happens to be a client of yours, is Les in his 70s, just qualified as a
78.
PT, like incredibly inspiring guy, one of the nicest people you will meet, but he is a member at the Forge and he is not
Yeah.
a typical member at the Forge. And the same way
No.
that we have, I think our youngest member is maybe about 15, and he, because he's under our kind of threshold for, we have a youth membership obviously, but if you're under 16 you have to be accompanied by an adult, so his mum comes into the gym with him and she just hangs out and she'll help him load the bar and things, and he's trying to get into strength sports. So we've had such a like wide variety of members over the years that yes, we will never ever lose that reputation for being strength sports based, and we don't want to,
Yeah.
but we're not just that thing. There's so much more to the Forge. The community alone is massive.
I think something that I quite like about the Forge is it's it could potentially come off as like intimidating because of that strength sport part of it, but the amount of clients that I've had, I think the main one that kind of resonated with me, I think it was Martin, my client Martin. He'd said to me that he came because he wanted to be in that kind of like hard training environment, and it is scary initially, but see, once you get used to it and like you realize that it's not scary, it's such a good place to actually thrive for your training. Like I come through the doors and I hear people like slamming bars down when they're deadlifting. You can hear people screaming in the back room. That gets me fired up for training.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
you know what I mean?
And like, so our music tastes are probably not typical of the kind of general population gym. They tend to err on the heavier side, particularly on a Sunday if Glenn's covering the shop. I mean, I like metal,
Yeah.
but he likes a whole other level of metal. So, yeah. So again, if you're not used to that type of, listen, I play everything from Taylor Swift to I Prevail or Slipknot or whatever in the gym. I love it all. But we tend to err towards the kind of heavier side of things. So again, that's something that some people are not used to. So yeah, like you say, well, it'll always have that root in, but it's getting, we're doing a lot on social media to kind of break down the stigma of like bodybuilding or powerlifting, strength sports in general, that it doesn't have to be just for competitive athletes. It can, you can train like a bodybuilder without having to step on stage at the end. You can follow a powerlifting program without ever thinking about stepping on the platform. Like you can still do those things and enjoy everything about them without the pressure of having. So yeah, I think that's the
I think you
difference
cut
for
out there
me.
for a second.
Sorry, you hear me okay?
Your yeah, it cut out for a second. It's going all fuzzy as well, your camera. I don't know if it's maybe just the signal's kind of dropped. Oh, it's kind of coming back now. Sorry, what was that last bit that you said there?
Yeah, I was just saying that it doesn't matter if if you plan on competing or not. You can still train as a bodybuilder, still train as a powerlifter in those types of programs without the pressure of having to step on stage. But for us,
Yeah.
the biggest hurdle for us was actually getting more females in the gym. I think because it has that reputation for being big, heavy, grunting, bodybuilding type people. It was always the females that we found really hard to kind of convince to step foot into the gym. And now we have almost as many females as we do males, and we have a lot more female athletes who are considering competing or do compete than we originally did as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's all progress, and hopefully it will continue that way. So yeah, we're very
I think
lucky.
something nice that I've seen, especially with a couple of my clients, is like I've had clients. Obviously, like I coached at a different gym before, and then started coaching at the Forge. I took people with me, and some of them never had any aspirations to do bodybuilding or anything, and now because they've been in that environment, they're actually like grown on it. They've kind of started to warm up to the idea of potentially stepping on stage one day,
Yeah,
and it's cool. You know,
I think it's
one of the kind of
phenomenal, and I think obviously, like I've said this to you in person, like I really admire what you're doing just now to kind of like push bodybuilding in the Highlands, and you've obviously got a few clients now. I mean, Matthew is like brief story. Matthew has been diagnosed with MS and is the most incredible person. I have never met someone so resilient in my life. He genuinely is like next level inspiration. And the guy's about to step on stage at the PCA in the disability class. So like years ago, I don't think that would have even have registered with him, but the right environment has brought that out in him. So, and
Yeah.
you have brought that out in him also, obviously. So, yeah, long way it continue. And obviously, with things, I mean, pre-COVID, Gavin would run the Highlands and Islands bodybuilding competition. There's just not a venue locally for that so much anymore, and I'm not saying that it's something that we would never do again, but with competitions like Granite, like in the north of Scotland, what Rob is doing for the bodybuilding community is phenomenal. And Rob started out at the Forge. I'm sure he mentioned that he would have been the person probably bringing in kit as the doors were opening 15 years ago, and what he has done since then is insane to me. Like, I don't think there's anybody that champions bodybuilding in Scotland the way that Rob does.
Yeah.
So
Rob's
I
almost
don't,
like a pioneer for bodybuilding in Scotland.
yeah, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And he would have been backstage helping out at when Gavin would have run the bodybuilding competitions locally. So again, that started out here, and it's just grown. So yeah, I can't wait to see where it continues to go as well. It's phenomenal, so it's great. Yeah.
Especially with seeing lots of new guys coming up, like some of the younger guys and girls that are looking to compete soon, or they're literally just about to in the next few weeks. It's quite good. I mean, from what Jack's told me, it used to be very much a lone venture in the Highlands doing bodybuilding, and that's what kind of resonated with me. And I was like, you know what, I want to try and grow that. I want to make it a bit more prominent.
Yeah, certainly when Jack would have started competing, I mean, when the Highlands and Islands bodybuilding competition was going on, I would imagine that probably only maybe 10 to 15% of the competitors on stage at these competitions would have been local. We used to have a lot of competitors come from like Central Belt, Aberdeen kind of way. I always remember like Rabbit Performance Gym down in Kilwinning, he would have a huge group of competitors up at the Highlands and Islands competitions. So even back then when Jack first started competing, he's right, there wouldn't have been that many athletes locally, even at a local show. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool to see. It's great.
And now you see quite a lot more of them now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think it will continue as well. The less stigma there is around bodybuilding, the better. So yeah, we just have to keep doing what we're doing. You have to keep doing what you're doing to kind of break down that barrier for people, that it's not such a taboo thing anymore. Like 20 years ago, if you were a bodybuilder, it was kind of seen as a bit odd or unusual. It's just not like that
It
anymore.
still is.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's some
To a degree.
aspect of it. I mean, when you're standing in a tanning booth next to another female and you're completely starkers, there's, yeah, something kind of odd about it. But for some reason, you just get on with it. So, yeah,
It's more accepted.
yeah, it's just another body. You do what you do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so will I go into one of the first topics that I've written down? So, I mean, we've actually kind of covered the background on the Forge. So, we kind of also touched on the reputation it has as a bodybuilding gym, but do you want to go in a bit more detail as to what you guys are trying to achieve with the Forge in terms of eliminating that stigma, but also still holding on to being that hub for bodybuilding?
Yeah, I used to feel weirdly protective sometimes when people would refer to us as, oh, you're just a bodybuilding gym. I don't know why, but it used to slightly offend me because I was always like, but we're not just bodybuilding. And it never always sat well with me because I felt like we were alienating this whole crowd of people that could be potential members of the Forge family who would thrive in our environment. And now I just embrace it because there is no other gym in Inverness that does bodybuilding the way that we do bodybuilding. So like we are a bodybuilding gym, but it's just that we're not just a bodybuilding gym. We're also a powerlifting gym, and we're also a gym for strength sports in general. And we're trying to, just like I said, keep continuing to break down the barrier between, like, strength sports should never just be about how you look in 12 weeks' time at the end of a harsh diet. They're kind of precursors or elements of a longer, healthier lifestyle. So, like I said, if you want to train like a bodybuilder or follow a powerlifting program or any of these things, get stronger, look fitter, feel healthier, those are all things that you can still do at the Forge and not have aspirations to step on stage at the end of it.
It was interesting. A client said to me the other day, so if I was to, it was a female client, and if I was to ever consider bodybuilding, how would my training change from what it's at just now? And I was like, not at all.
Yeah.
You're training like a bodybuilder. Anybody that comes through the door, right, even if you don't have anticipation to step on stage or whatever, there's no difference between the training that you would do to improve the way that you look. Sorry, that's my phone going off. The way that you would, sorry, kind of lost my trail of thought. There's no difference between the training that you would do to try and like burn some fat and build just a wee bit more muscle or tone, as like Gen Pop people would call it, and how a bodybuilder would train. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah,
It's just a bit of an extreme.
yeah, that term of like toning up is, I think, quite a kind of or more common probably to hear from females, but I think most females, when you talk to them about gaining muscle mass, that's quite often met with, oh, but I don't want to get too big or I don't want to get too muscular. And I'm like, I've been trying for 15 years to get too muscular. It's not as easy as it looks. So
No.
trying to convince someone that those are the things that you need to do to be able to have the physique that you want, if that's your goal, then yeah, you have to put on muscle mass. Yeah, you might train heavier and eat a little bit more and all of those things that a bodybuilder might do. But it's the same way, like, we obviously, as I said, we've got many like older clients now as well. So for them, it's like longevity, like keeping healthy bones and joints and all these things. And like exercise in general can only be a good thing for everybody in the population, in my opinion. So like whatever we
Exactly.
can do to get more people involved in being active in a healthy way, it's all good, and it doesn't have to just be competitive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the way that I would always describe it to people, so like you've kind of got like your more like commercial gyms, right? And I feel like commercial gyms, without like naming them, would you'd get the sort of people that have like they're in there because the doctors told them that they need to go and lose some weight or they need to get, improve their health, and they don't really want to be there. Or their friends drag them. That's what you typically see in commercial gyms. If you go to the Forge, it's a place where you can go and train hard because you're in an environment surrounded by other people that are training hard, and you can make actual results whether you're going to try and compete in XYZ sport or not.
Yeah, I think that's true of most independent gyms. Like, if you think about any of the independent gyms that you visited in Scotland alone, so like Warehouse in Aberdeen, Flex Unit down south, Performance Gym down near the border, like all those places that are known for that kind of reputation, they're all independent gyms and they all have that atmosphere that like we also have at the Forge that you're talking about, that it's not just, no one's forcing them to be there. Everyone who's there is like desperate to be there. They're passionate about what they're doing and they love it, and they're in an environment that they're thriving in and they're inspired by on the daily. It's amazing. Like, it's amazing for me to watch people in the gym, even people who come in with social anxieties or zero confidence, or they're just super nervous to be there, and to watch their confidence progress over the time that they're in the gym, that I genuinely believe that they wouldn't see so much in a commercial space, because the community is not the same. Like, I'm talking about Matt, in the mornings, him and a couple of the other girls who might refer to themselves as the morning crew, they've got the counselling counter, as they call it, or the counselling corner, depending which side of the gym that they're on. And that is three friends who wouldn't know each other outside of the gym, and if they were going to a commercial gym, probably still wouldn't have spoken to each other, but because they're in the right space, have formed lifelong friendships where they genuinely know each other's lives. They know probably each other's kids' names or what their dog's called, and know intimate details of their life that they can talk to each other about. And I just don't think that you see that in gyms that are not independent gyms.
No, it is very different.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's you see it a lot more. I think the reason that we've got that at the Forge is because it's the same faces that you see all the time. Though there's not really like that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, like turnover
Yeah.
of like members coming in the door and then like this kind of fall off after a few months. Tends to be people that have been there for years,
Yeah.
and yeah, you do get the occasional new face, but I actually prefer it to be the same faces, and like, you know who you're training next to because you've seen them there for the entire time that you've been training.
It's weird for me because it's exactly, and like I'm a creature of habit as well, so I see the same faces at the same time every day, and they're in their routine, I'm in mine. And so when I don't see someone for like a week or two, I'm like, where is that person? Like, are they okay? Is it inappropriate for me to drop them a message? They're probably just on holiday or something, but I'm just so used to seeing the same people at the same time. And again, in spaces where like other 24-hour gyms who are chains, for example, where you don't interact with a staff member on a daily basis, that would go unnoticed as well, like if someone wasn't there for a period of time. So
Yeah,
we can't take credit for that community, or that we can take a little bit of credit for creating a nice space, a good environment, but it's our members. We're so fortunate that the majority of our members are such good guys. Like, we have no ego in the gym at all, which is again probably something that you would assume with a strength sports based gym, a bodybuilding gym, that there would be a lot of ego, and we just genuinely don't have any of that. So yeah, we're really lucky to have the members that we do, and you're right, but the majority of them stay with us long term, so they form full friendships. It's amazing to see. It's good. I love it. Yeah.
there's a reason that they stay for so long.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a reason that Forge members refer to themselves as Forge family.
Yeah,
So, and it is,
it
it's
was
like,
funny. Sorry, on you go.
it's just like catching up with family on a daily basis. Yeah.
It was funny, like you were touching base on the music earlier in the podcast, and I think I said this to you the other day. Like one of my clients turned around to me and he was like, "I came here for the weights, but I stayed for the music."
Yes. Yeah, because she's into kind of early 2000s emo stuff that I used to listen to while I was still at high school and still listen to now. So, yeah.
You
Yeah.
actually converted me to that music since starting there. So I never used to like that, but it's
Yeah.
I that's what I would listen to now when I'm training
Yeah, I think
because
people
that is the
associate
opposite.
me with kind of reasonably heavy or like emo kind of music, but I actually don't really listen to that kind of music in my home life. I'm very like country music and folk kind of music and all that kind of stuff. So that's my gym music. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think if I actually played the stuff that I listen to at home, then yeah, people genuinely would I'd probably get a knock on the office door asking me to change the tunes
complaints.
up. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to listen to Dermot Kennedy while they're training. So yeah,
Very true.
yeah.
Okay, so um, it's a good one. So obviously we've talked about the growth and the change that the Forge has had over the years. Um, where do you see the Forge 5 years from now?
So I don't know. So we just will keep doing what we're doing in the short term. So investing in kit, like I know this week we've ordered a couple of new pieces of kit already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One of them's custom, so it will take a little while to get here. So in that aspect, yeah, we're in a really fortunate position now where we kind of have all bases covered with equipment, and the space that we have is filled reasonably well without being like overwhelming. I kind of touched on it earlier, but old school Forge was just rammed full of kit. Like you couldn't walk the length of the gym without tripping over something or bumping into someone, and it's not like that. We've got a nice balance at the moment. So when we do invest in more equipment, it's almost become a nice position where we upgrade pieces of equipment instead of adding more. And it's not to say we won't add more, of course we will, but we're in that nice fortunate position where it's like, oh, we don't really like this piece anymore. Like, what's better? What can we spend a little bit more on? And we've obviously favoured a particular brand, or not actually on purpose. We inherited a particular brand of kit, which over the years we've become kind of, or fallen a little bit out of love with. So when we do replace kit over the years, it'll be slightly better quality equipment as well. As for the gym on a whole, we obviously, so the entire building at the gym, we obviously have the ground floor in the gym, and then we've got 2 spaces above us which are kind of privately rented. We've got Highland Boxing on one side of us, and we've got the studio above us, which is a kind of private PT space. And if the opportunity came up, if one of those guys happened to not be there anymore, we would extend up. Of course we would. But at the moment we've got a nice setup with those guys. We're very lucky. They're a great set of people to have above us and add to the community, I think, in the area as well. 5 years is a long time, dude. Like, a really long time. So I guess the short answer, in the same position that we are now, but even better, hopefully bodybuilding, powerlifting, strength sports on a whole will continue to grow in the way that we've been talking about, which means we'll have even more people interested in that aspect of training. We have 7 PTs now. We've got the Highland Supplement Centre, we've got a couple of sports therapists, the barbers at the front. Like, the way the Forge space has grown over the last 3 or 4 years, if that's any indication as to where we'll be in 5 years, then it's only going to get bigger and better, hopefully. So yeah.
So kind of just more of what you're already doing, basically.
Yeah, I think that's kind of probably the easiest answer. Better equipment, probably more equipment. And oh, gosh, I got asked yesterday, have you got plans to open a second gym? And I'm like, I'm such a control freak. Like, I can't be in 2 spaces at once. So trying to run 2 facilities, I'm not saying that Dean's the money man, so like, he's the person you'd have to ask to. We always get asked for Elgin. Everyone in Elgin's like, why can't you open Forge Gym in Elgin? Because they don't really have a space like we do. And it's a
So I've
45-minute drive, kind of.
You know Chris West is one of my pals.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so he stays out Elgin way, and I think he finds it pretty challenging trying to get a good gym. But I mean, I think he's pretty much like bang in the middle between warehouse and Forge. So it's like, pick your poison. It would be good for them to have something out that way. But like you say, it would be challenging for you guys to be able to monitor it as well and keep it to the same sort of standard that you've got the Forge at.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference, is that if we ever did go down the route of looking at a second facility or even extending the gym above, it has to have the right people in that space to take care of it in the same way that we do. I'm like really fortunate. Like, I work Monday to Friday, and Pamela and Glenn cover our weekends for us, or if we happen to be on holiday, for example, and they have the same love and passion for the Forge that I do. So when I'm not there, I fully trust that they're looking after the space the same way that I do. But that would be the thing. Like, if we did have a second location, it would be finding someone who cared about the place in the same way that we do as well. So yeah, who knows?
Hard to do.
Yeah, listen, Dean's the most impulsive guy in the world, so yeah, maybe one day.
Maybe
I'll
he
come
might just
home
wake
one
up
day
one
and
day
he'll
and be
just
like,
tell me that, yeah, that's it. I'll find out after the fact. So
Dean's gonna watch this now and just be like, right, yep, that's my cue to do this.
yeah,
Cool.
an
So
ideas in his head now.
just planting seeds.
Oh, don't.
Okay, so we've probably also kind of already touched on this as well, to be fair, but what would you say makes the Forge the gym that it is?
The people. It is like, yes, we have great kit, yes, we have a cool space, yes, we play fun music, but it's the people. Like, if we didn't have the people that we do, then we wouldn't have the environment and the community that we do. So like I said earlier, we can't take full credit for that. That's word of mouth and people shouting about the Forge the way that they do. And we're really lucky that we have a kind of fiercely strong community who do shout about us the way that we do. And in like new ways, like even the way that you are featuring the Forge on your videos and stuff on YouTube, etc. That's new exposure for the Forge that it's not really had before. The way that Rob champions the Forge and the Highland Supplement Centre for us as part of Granite, like, yeah, it's the people. It is.
I suppose that's the kind of good thing about, I mean, like my relationship with the Forge anyway, as one of the PTs there. I think we've talked about this with like the way that you'll get me to do filming with Enrico for videos specifically for the Forge, and we'll collab them, you know, and it gets attention from both ends of social media. And the same with like YouTube. I mean, if I didn't have a facility to film my YouTube videos at, there wouldn't be any YouTube videos. So it's like, well, you know, you guys deserve to get the credit for that as well.
Yeah, we're really lucky, and not just yourself, because obviously Johnny, one of our other PTs, he's started a podcast as well, so it's like occasional bit elements of the Forge being dropped into stuff like that, and the more exposure that we have, the better, and the more people who see what we have to offer, I mean, we can only carry on growing, hopefully. But yeah, like, it is the people, like that's all that we can't take full credit for anything. In the whole 10 years that I've been there as a regular member and now staff member, it's always been the people that have made the difference. Like or prior to working there, and even now as kind of GM, I could go in there not feel great mentally one day, be a little bit flat, and I could meet one of a number of members, and they instantly change how you feel within the day. Like Ronnie, Rob's sister, she's all regularly in the morning, and it's quite common for folk to walk past us in the hallway having a little bit of a boogie to whatever Backstreet Boys song that she happens to be playing through the speakers. So like, these people make a huge difference to my day, and I hope that the Forge makes a huge difference to theirs, but it is the people. We're, yeah, so lucky.
Absolutely. No, I would totally agree. I think, you know, you can ask anybody for like a spot in there as well, and everybody's always happy to, you know, they're all supportive. I bailed a lift a couple of weeks ago. I was on the incline bar, and I should have asked somebody for a spot. And I went for a rep that I probably shouldn't have. It wasn't very intelligent. And I had to like bail it forward onto my hips. And somebody came over straight away and grabbed it off me. It was funny. But it was, you know, people are there to help. Everybody's there to support each other. There's definitely no feeling of, oh, I can't go and ask somebody how many sets they've got left, or if they can give me a spot, or if I can work in with them, you know.
Yeah, everyone's lovely. Like, I genuinely say that when people join, I kind of show them around, and sometimes you can tell if someone's a little bit anxious, etc. And you always try and make them feel as comfortable as possible. But I always tell them that approach the biggest guy, because they're probably the friendliest person in the gym. Like, take Jack, for example. He's a gentle giant. Like, if anybody asked him for help, the guy has a decade's worth of training knowledge. He would be the person that I would go and ask for help in the gym. Okay, don't interrupt Jack while he's training. I just need to put that out there. Please don't interrupt Jack while he's training. He'll probably tell me off. But I think if you
You'd probably get a bit annoyed then.
Yeah, yeah. Like, if he's between sets and you need a spot, it seems like an obvious choice to me. And again, it goes back to that whole thing of like the Forge having a reputation for being quite intimidating because of the type of people that physically train there, or how they look. But those are the friendliest people, the most knowledgeable people in the gym. So go and ask the big guy for a spot. He'll definitely help you out. Ask one of the strong powerlifters to share a platform with you. They'll 100% do that. Like, yeah, we're really lucky that everyone is so lovely.
Mm-hmm. I think part of that is like all these people that are very experienced with whatever strength sport they're in, that are at the Forge. Everybody started somewhere, you know. Everybody had their first day in the gym at one point, you know.
Yeah.
You remember what it's like.
Yeah, I started out in a chain gym and was stuck to the cross trainer doing cardio the same way that most people, or certainly a lot of females, start out, scared to go to the weights room. And it was actually Donna Moore that I was talking about earlier, who I think she's 3-time world strongest woman. She actually happened to train at the same facility. I don't think the forge was quite open at the time. And I remember watching her deadlift, just thinking she was the most badass girl I had ever seen in my life. And I was like, yeah, I want to try that. So yeah, you're right. Everyone starts somewhere, and I was that person too. So anything that we can do to encourage people to kind of reach their full potential is,
Yeah,
yeah, just have to keep doing what we're doing.
absolutely. So anybody watching this that is relatively new to the gym, I hope this is a bit of a eye opener to ask for help when needed. Don't feel like you need to be anxious around people just based on the way that they look. You know,
Yeah.
definitely ask for help.
And listen, like we have, I have one member in particular, and I hope he won't mind me talking about it, but I know he like suffers quite harshly with kind of social anxiety, and even someone like that, that when they first came in found it really difficult to step over the threshold, to now being a regular face in the gym that I see integrated into social circles, into, like you say, the same groups that he sees all day or every time that he comes into the facilities, and for him to feel comfortable enough that if he is feeling a little bit off, that he can stick his head in the office door and catch up with me for 5 minutes while he kind of like chills out, like to make sure that people feel safe and welcome in the forge is like one of my number one priorities. Like I'm a people pleaser. I come from a customer service background. I just want everyone to be happy, and while I can take some ownership on that, it is because of everybody being so welcoming that it makes it so easy as well.
Absolutely. I was going to say, so an issue that I see a lot with clients, and this hasn't just been like at the Forge, so it's not just based on like the Forge having a reputation for being scary or whatever. Like when I worked at any time as well, the amount of times that I would have somebody through for an initial consultation, and they would say to me in the consultation, I literally just sat in my car for like half an hour shaking. I did not want to come through the door. And like the level of effort that that takes for some people, and a lot of people won't even be able to comprehend it because they just, you know, you just go to the gym, you
Yeah.
get out your car, you go through the front door and you crack on. But for somebody that isn't confident and they've never been in the gym before, it's a scary experience in any gym, you
Yeah,
know?
100%. Whether that's us or a chain gym, or, and I think sometimes even more so in a chain gym, because everybody just goes in and does their thing and they have their headphones on and they don't conversate between each other. So finding someone to approach to ask a question, I genuinely feel might be more difficult in those situations. So yeah, in the forge, I can't imagine anybody not taking 2 minutes out of their day to offer a spot to someone, or offering advice on tech pointers or whatever it is. Like, I've done it, you've probably done it. You see someone doing something that's not the most productive way for them to be doing it, and as long as you do it in a way that's welcomed, it's okay to go and say to someone, hey, maybe try it this way, it's like a little bit more
Yeah.
effective. And everybody's so lovely that they're open to that as well. You just want the best for people. You want them to keep coming back. People are still feeling scared or intimidated or lost in the gym, which is so common. They go on the treadmill, they don't know what to do. And obviously, we don't have a massive cardio area, so it is mostly
Yeah.
weights. So you have to jump in at the deep end.
I think
So
most people's kind of like go to when they don't know what to do is they kind of just go straight to the treadmills,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And
Or they'll go on
it's,
machines that are a little bit more familiar, maybe like the lat pull down, leg extension, like those kind of things,
yeah,
that are a bit safer, that kind of seem easily set up type thing. But
yeah.
it's trying to
I think
encourage people.
people, yeah, I think people maybe get worried that they're not going to do it right
Yeah,
because it's easy for me and you to be like, right, it's a leg extension. You sit on it, you pull the lever back, you make sure that it's down at the bottom, and then you just start pushing it up and down. It's very straightforward, but like some people, I mean, if you've never sat on a leg extension before, you would need to sit. I mean, I've done it in, I've went to other gyms, right, and I'll see a bit of kit that I've never seen before. I've been training over for over 10 years. Qualified personal trainer, and I've went into gyms and had no clue how to use a bit of kit. Like it happens to the best of us. Like don't feel like you can't go and approach somebody to ask if you don't know.
Yeah, I
You
think
know?
that's probably really common to have like social or gym anxiety when you're visiting a new gym for the first time. Or not, and maybe not even gym anxiety, but just like even though you have a set program of what you're going to do when you go into the gym, when you're in a new environment, it's like, right, okay, where is the leg extension? Where is the leg press? Is it plate loaded? Is it pin loaded? Like, how is the setup different to, like, every leg press is different. So, how our leg press might feel to some one person is different to another leg press in a different gym. So, yeah, even
Mm,
guys like us who have been training for years will still encounter those same difficulties. It's just
yeah,
that we've adapted to it, or we've had time to adapt to it. It's not that we've adapted better, it's just that we've had the time to.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, just have to keep encouraging people to room. So you'll know this, but obviously the way we've got the gym set up, you've got like room 1, 2, and 3, and room 1 houses most of our free weights, and I think that's the room where people feel like they need to kind of work their way up to,
Hmm.
because the other 2 room houses machines, and most of them are fairly straightforward. But that's why we have the app as well. Like, we've got the Forge Gym app, which is exclusive to members obviously, and on there is a library of hundreds of videos showing hundreds of different exercises and how to use and or how to perform these exercises. And obviously we've filmed ones that are specific to the forge on the equipment that we have, filmed by our personal trainers with detailed captions on how to perform the exercise, and things like that hopefully make a huge difference to people
Yeah,
as well. So yeah,
absolutely. No, it's good that you've got that. I think. So how many members do you actually find actually make use of the app?
I would say it's majoritively members who are new to the gym that use the app. Um, I think certainly anybody who is coached, so like I'd imagine you being coached by Jack, for example. Like Jack, he'll have his way of. I don't know how he does your programming, for example, or your nutrition, if it's over Google Sheets or if it's an Excel or whatever it is. They might have certain ways to do things. Certainly, any coaches that had in the past, it's been like Excel sheets and that kind of stuff. I think these kind of fitness apps are still relatively new. There's ones like True Coach, Trainerize, all those kind of things. So I find for us it's mostly new people because they can get a free program on there if they want to. They need or might need more so the kind of tutorial videos, whereas the majority of members who end up in the Forge have come from a background of training, or they've been in another gym before. I always joke that it's like the gym that you graduate to. So you've kind of been in your local leisure centre for a while, for example, and then you think, right, I want to try a real gym.
Yeah,
And so they've already got a little bit of training background behind them, so they're familiar with some bits of equipment.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe like not as many people as we had thought, and there'll be different reasons for that. Like, I don't like being on my phone during my sessions, so I'm a fan of a good old pen and paper logbook type setup. I
yeah,
find that being on my phone is distracting, mostly because of work, because if I see messages that are unanswered sitting on my phone for the Forge or the Sap Shop, whatever it is, I have this background noise that's like, you need to answer that. Whereas if I pen and paper it, then I don't have that distraction. And so even something like that might make the difference to someone from using the app or not. But yeah,
yeah,
like, some do, some don't. It's there as a tool for those who need it. It's free anyway to use.
hmm,
And it's really good for things like if you, say for example, you don't really know different exercises to perform. You come in and you do the same 3 exercises for back every time you're in the gym. There's a bit on there where if you search back, it comes up with like 100 different videos of things that you could do for your back. So it's good for those kind of things.
yeah.
So yeah.
Good to have an explore on and see if there's anything that you can really change up to use as a variation if needed.
Yeah, and like there's loads of stuff on there, so you can track your food, your sleep, your weight. You can check on progress pictures. It's like a huge tool. for anybody that wants to use it. And like, yeah, so we just keep
So I
pushing
make
it.
use of it. I make use of it for like doing my timetable for PTs.
Yeah,
And I know that you can message clients on it,
yeah.
but I find that I never actually get them messaging me on there.
No,
I think if
we
they did,
get,
because I don't even check that.
yeah.
So it's
It's it's like it's maybe my fault actually. Maybe I don't push the app enough. Like everybody who's new, they get told about it. They get an invite to download it. We put a program on there for them based on questions that they answer when they first sign in, etc. But I don't teach them how to explore just how much is on there enough. So it's maybe something I need to go back and think about.
so I find that clients that I've got that are like brand new to the gym, they tend to like put metrics and that into it. So
Yeah,
they'll log if they go for a walk or if they go for a run on the treadmill or whatever. People that are more experienced, like they'll just kind of give me feedback on WhatsApp,
yeah,
which for the way that I coach is preferred. Like I would rather just go through all my WhatsApp messages because it means that I can do their check-ins on there as well. But the fact that I noticed that it's the brand new people that are actually utilizing it for tracking stuff as well, because obviously you can track your reps and weight on there as well.
yeah,
So you don't need to keep a notebook, which is quite good. So I think maybe a couple of people will do that. But it sounds like the right people are using it. So
yeah.
like people that are brand new that are going to make use of having videos that explain how to do certain exercises. Those are the people you kind of want to really use it, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's kind of, I think, where we targeted it at in the first place. It was because we have that reputation for being scary and intimidating and all of those things. It's like, how can we make the space as accessible, as comfortable for as many people as possible? So that's a good tool for that. So
That's my phone going off again. I'm just going to put it on Don't Disturb.
too popular.
Okay, that's it. um, so this is the second last one, and this is probably a bit more of like a negative topic. You probably know what I'm going to bring up, but is
Probably.
issues with people not following the gym rules and non-members that have been sneaking in, which we've seen quite a lot of recently. What's your kind of take on? They're two separate things, obviously, because sometimes you have members that are leaving kit out and stuff like that, or people that are maybe, I don't know, like they'll damage a bit of kit or a bit of the wall or whatever, and they won't report it. And then obviously the issue with people sneaking in.
Listen, I won't talk about it too long because I don't like to talk about the negative stuff. So every
Yeah,
gym I imagine that has 24-hour access the way that we do will have elements of the issues that we have. On the whole, we don't have, like, on the whole, 99% of members put their plates away. There's a handful of people that don't, and genuinely sometimes people just forget. So
yeah,
yeah, I can understand stuff like that, and it takes just a simple reminder every so often, and people will remember next time. The sneaking people in outside of hours is a whole other thing that like for as long as I can remember, the Forge has had an issue with. Outside of, we can't be manned 24 hours. It wouldn't be financially, it would be a silly thing anyway, because
yeah,
during the small hours of the morning for the 2 or 3 people that happen to be in the gym, it doesn't make sense to have a member of staff there. But that's why we have CCTV in place, etc. So occasionally, yeah, we get a member or even a non-member sneaking into the gym. We've had that in the past where I'll go in the morning and there'll be people in the gym that have followed in a member that have really no right to be there. And I think for most people, they always think that it's a financial thing. We're £5 for a day pass, and it's not for us the fiver that you didn't pay for your day pass while you sneaked in. It's more a case of like, what happens if the building goes on fire and we don't know that you're in there? How does that affect our insurance, for example? So I guess I'd imagine that all facilities that have 24-hour access the way that we do, certainly I would imagine more in the independent gyms that don't have that Star Trek entry system that's like a tube of one person in, one person out at the other side.
turnstiles, yeah.
Yeah, I think there'll always be a kind of element of that. We're just fortunate that over the years it's become less and less and less.
Yeah.
So the Is it technically theft? Yeah, I guess so, but that's not really the reason that it frustrates us so much. It's more from a health and safety aspect, and just a respect really. Like I would never think to sneak into the cinema, for example, and not
Yeah.
pay. And
I think another. Sorry, on you go.
the majority of people that are in the facilities know us on a personal level. So for someone to kind of do that thing that you're describing where they're sneaking a friend in without paying or without letting us know, it's almost like there should be a mutual respect there kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will only get less and less over time, and
Hmm.
if people could put their plates away, then yeah, great. It saved
Yeah.
my back over the years.
See, an issue that I find with people sneaking in, and we were touching on earlier how great the members are that we have at the gym, and they're almost like what makes the gym what it is. I think it's almost like a shame for them when other people are sneaking in and they're paying for their membership. You know,
Yeah,
like the people that, I mean, if you were going to give access to anybody for free, it would be the members that you've actually got a good relationship with, not some
yeah,
random person that's never been in the gym before. You
yeah.
know,
And that's why,
it's
like, you're totally right, and that's like it's really difficult to give back to members who are with us long term. Like, we'll quite often see other gyms in the area offer like introductory offers for joining the facility, and I can understand the need for that in some circumstances. But how does that look to your long term members who have been paying a membership for months, years, etc.? Like, how do they benefit from that? So yeah, if you want to talk about it in the aspect of technically it's stealing, not only are you stealing from us, then yeah, technically you are stealing from the other members who are paying for the facility as well.
yeah.
So it's not a fun topic to talk about. Um, it's is what it is. It's becoming less, and like I say, we've got CCTV in place, so it's not often that someone will get away with doing that and not get caught out. So
Yeah.
it's a silly thing to do, really.
I think maybe the issue is that people don't actually see an issue with it. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, because they'll walk in and they can see that there's cameras there. I
yeah,
mean, there's been people recently when there's literally been a sign on the door that says about opening hours and there being day passes at a certain time, and they'll just go in anyway.
yeah,
And it's almost as if they, I don't know whether it's that they don't care or as if it's that they just don't see it as that much of a big issue. It's like, oh, the gym's there anyway. Why can't I just go in?
yeah.
Do you know what I
Like
mean?
I find it really difficult. So I like for example, on a Tuesday morning, I don't, we've got kind of later office hours, so I start at 11 a.m. instead of kind of 9 a.m., which I do the rest of the week. Every Tuesday morning, without a doubt, I train and I train legs, so it's a heavy session. And I don't think I've ever got through a session on a Tuesday morning where someone hasn't rung the doorbell looking for a day pass, even though there's a sign on the door that has our office hours clearly labelled and a very clear notice below it saying that we don't offer day passes. And the doorbell's right below that, so they've read all the bits. They've read the sign that says no day passes outside of office hours, and then they ring the doorbell. And I can't, like, I really struggle to say no to people. So then I'm about to do a top set of something, and then I go to the door and I let them in and I take their fiver and I have to show them around, and it's really, really hard for me to say no in those circumstances.
Yeah.
But from that person's point of view, they'll see it as, oh, well, you're a staff member and you're there anyway. So what
Well, if it's
difference
cutting
does it
into
make?
your personal time, you
Yeah,
know, I mean, this was actually the next topic that I was going to go into is
yeah,
your own personal training and how that is affected by your affiliation with the gym. I think people kind of just expect it of you. I mean, I've felt really bad for you loads of times when I've been with a client, say like, I don't know, doing a consultation or just chatting to them at the desk, and somebody will ring the doorbell, and someone will let them in, and then they'll get directed to me, and then I'm like, oh shit, you need a day pass, okay, let me just go and interrupt Louise's session. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I hate doing that.
yeah.
Um, it's a shame, and it's definitely, I'd imagine anyway, very difficult for you to navigate. What would you say? Like, how do you manage that?
Over the years, I've become a little bit better at saying no, but I'm still not great at it. So, for example, if Wednesday's my rest day. If I'm in most mornings from around about 8 and I leave at 6, but quite often 5 to 6, 6 o'clock on the dot, there'll be a handful of people in the office looking for supplements, a day pass, whatever it is. And it's really hard for me to switch off from that. So I can't say no in those circumstances. I'm there anyway. And I'm heading home, so I'm thinking, what does it matter? I'll stay 20 minutes. But then it's like, where's the line? So if I let that 2 or 3 people in and someone else happens to come along and someone else happens to come along, where does it then become like a work-life balance for me where I can clock out at 6 o'clock and leave versus this is our business and we're here to serve these people and we don't want to let anybody down, and what if this is a potential member, or like it's such a hard it's like a rock and a hard place, if that's the right term, but it's hard for me to say no. What I do struggle with is being interrupted during training. Jack touched on it on the podcast where someone had kind of pulled his headphone off and interrupted him in the middle of a top set. I have encountered similar things plenty of times in the gym. I've been mid-rep shoulder pressing and someone's kind of waving in my face because their key fob's not working, for example, and they don't have the patience to wait just until I finish my set because that thing is important to them at that time, so they want it dealt with at that time. But yeah. I never ever train. I would never train during my shift. So when I clock out at 6 o'clock and I'm training, I'm there kind of in my own time, if that makes sense. Like if I wasn't there, they wouldn't have someone to kind of wave down and ask about their key fob. They would probably just drop a message. So it's just finding that balance and being able to say to someone, actually, could you give me like 10 minutes until I finish my session and I'll sort that on my way out, or don't worry, you're in tonight, I'll give you a call in the morning and we'll get that sorted for you. But that happened more when I first started at the gym. But it's like I said at the start, I'm the face of the Forge. I'm the person that people associate with being the staff member, and it doesn't matter how big my headphones are or how low my cap is or anything, they'll still find me.
You just need to get like a fake mustache or something.
Sometimes I think about getting a t-shirt that just says off duty, but I still don't think that people would really like lock.
So I can kind of resonate with you on it. Like me and you have spoken about this before. So when I used to work at any time, obviously since moving to the Forge, I reduced down my hours where I only do like 5 hours of PT a day. So it doesn't really feel like I'm at the gym all day. I don't feel the same way that I did before when I was doing like 12-hour shifts there. And I would like train in the middle of my shifts. So you're essentially in the same building for like 12 hours and you try and just take an hour to train and you've got people constantly at you wanting to ask questions. Like, you know, for me it was clients, like it would be like, oh, can you quickly go and show me this because you're here, you know. It's very difficult to navigate, which is why I originally got a membership at the Forge, because I wanted to get away for a wee bit and just be able to train in peace. But obviously you can't really do that. I mean, where else would you train, you know?
Yes, people ask me that often, why don't you train somewhere else? And I'm like, because, and I don't mean this in a boastful way, but there is no other facility in Inverness that I would enjoy training in as much as I enjoy training at the Forge. So yes, okay, if it occasionally means that I get interrupted during a session, then that's the balance. I just myself need to not worry so much about occasionally saying no to people or just asking them to be a little bit more patient with me. It's like you say, I'm in the gym most days from 8 in the morning, and by the time I finish training it's 8 o'clock when I'm leaving. I don't take a lunch break. Like, I sit and eat my food in between doing social media content or cleaning or whatever it is that I've got on for the day. And again, I don't think I've ever had, or it's not often I have a meal where someone doesn't pop into the shop for supplements or whatever it is. But it's a good complaint for me to have. It's because we're busy that I am talking about this. If nobody was interrupting me, it would suggest that the gym wasn't a very busy place or the sup shop wasn't a very busy place. So although it can be a little bit frustrating sometimes, it's something that I try not to complain about too much, because I am so thankful that people choose to train with us, choose to come back to the supplement shop, and Yeah.
So what
Sometimes
you
I
kind of
worry
touched
that,
on?
like, if
Sorry.
I say no to someone that I like, I'm like, oh gosh, was that really passive aggressive? Where I'm like, no, I'm training. Like, can't you see?
We've spoken about this
Yeah,
before, where it's like we get so worried. Like me and you are very similar with this. We get so worried that we've like upset somebody by saying something,
yeah.
and then we think about it all day.
I get wild social anxiety where I've had a conversation with someone and afterwards I'm like, oh no, I said that and maybe they took it this way, and that person probably doesn't even remember that we had a conversation. So
No,
yeah.
it's so something that I was actually thinking about is you were touching on earlier about people that are relatively new to the gym, and you would want them to be able to kind of knock on the door and be like, "Sorry, can you like give me a hand with this, or show me how to do this?" And it's like it's trying to balance that act between like you're sat eating your food, and there's somebody that you could potentially try and grow their confidence by going and helping them at the time, and it's like, what's the fall off? Which one do I choose here? And
Just
it must be so
yesterday
difficult
I
to navigate.
just yesterday I made a meal and then the doorbell went and it was someone who was looking for a pre-workout. They've never used pre-workout before. And that's not for me just a really simple 2 minute conversation like, oh yeah, take this one, it's the
Yeah,
best. Like we've had conversations about supplements many times, particularly pre-workout, and for me that's like a really detailed conversation of like what is it you're looking for and following on from that, finding them what I think is the best pre-workout for them, not just any generic best-selling pre-workout. So that ends up being a 10 to 15 minute conversation. So if I have to eat my food cold and it means that the person leaves with the thing that they need the most, yeah, like that's cool. I'm fine with that. It is what it is. Like I've eaten plenty cold meals. That's what bodybuilders do, isn't it? Chicken and rice cold out of Tupperware.
pretty much.
Get accustomed to
That's
it
the
after a
hardcore.
while. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully get that. One thing that I was going to ask, so how did you find that while you were on your last prep?
So the balance during prep feels a little bit harder sometimes. Like at the moment, I can afford a little bit more time where if my sessions take a little bit longer or if I'm interrupted, etc., or if I don't get the same out of a session as I intended to, then it's not the end of the world. Whereas, like during prep, every rep session, etc., has to be as close to perfection as possible. If someone interrupted me on a top set during prep, where I'm trying to hit failure with little to no carbohydrates in me at the tail end, I might be a little bit more upset than now where I've got plenty of carbohydrates and I'm not hungry and stressed
Yeah,
and I can afford a little bit more time. So
yeah,
yeah, like not that my training is more important than anybody else's training or my time is more important than anybody else's time, but for me it's like yes, I am the face of the forge or the person that people associate with the forge, but I also am just a person as well. So I still just have hobbies like lifting that I want to be able to do and be able to switch off from. Sometimes work is a little bit stressful and everybody knows how much lifting weights is good for that, so sometimes I want to be able to switch off, and if I can get to do that uninterrupted occasionally, then great. And if someone asks me a question every so often, then I just deal with it.
yeah,
Some of the guys handle that better than others. Like Dean is just straight up no, like will not get interrupted during a session. The shop shuts at 6 o'clock. That's it. Pamela's quite similar now. She's quite good with that. Nope, I'm training, but it's the people pleaser in me. I find it really difficult to say no. So
yeah. I think because obviously we've had this conversation a couple of times. In recent times, like I've tried. Sometimes it's unavoidable depending on the circumstance, but like I try my best when I see that you're training, just to, if somebody's there, if I can avoid having to interrupt you, then I will. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Obviously, sometimes like it's something where it's like shit, like this isn't something that I can help them with, and I kind of need to. but I always hate doing it. I really do,
No, no.
because I know how you must feel.
Yeah, I get paid to be there in that capacity, so there's just it is what it
But that's
is.
not the time that you're paid for, though.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough.
You
Yeah,
know.
that's true. Yeah, but like it all comes back to us just wanting everyone to feel as welcome as possible. So if on a day where I happened to turn someone away for a day pass, and that's the day that they spent an hour at home psyching themselves up to find enough courage to visit the forge, and then I turn them away, I would hate that so much. So I think that's why I find it really difficult to say no, because I just want to like stand there with open arms welcoming everybody to the facility. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it
I
is
think
what it
that's why, like, see the contrast there with when it's somebody that is perhaps like psyched themselves up, they're really anxious about coming in, and you've helped them. But then when you get people that come in and they aren't as, what's the word? They're not as pleasant about it. They're very rude, and it's like, I'm trying to help you, mate. Like, and
yeah.
you're just being rude about it. Like, it's unfortunate that it's like that sometimes, but the kind of people pleaser in you, like you've said, wants to help everybody,
Yeah,
and it's more so the people that actually need it and are kind of kind, and they come in and they present themselves in a good way. Those are the people that you want to do that for.
yeah. And I don't have to train on Tuesday mornings. I choose to, and that's like my own
Yeah.
space and my own time. And like I am always try and accommodate, and I'm normally very polite. But even there'll be occasions where maybe someone does turn up for a day pass and it's 9:30 in the morning before the office opens at 11, for example. And I'll maybe just say to them, hey dude, so the office doesn't actually open till 11. Like, we'll let you in today, but just for future reference, if you just remember. And they look at you like you're crazy. Like, what does it matter? You're here anyway. And I don't tell them that because I'm telling them off because they've interrupted my session. I'm telling them because there might be a day where I'm not there to train at 9 o'clock in the morning and they won't be able to access the facilities. So it's just a reminder that we do, like, yes, we're a 24-hour facility, but that's for members. Like, if you're visiting on a day pass, then that's
It's
a
about
whole
setting
other.
boundaries as well, though. You know.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think even though you are going to help that person at that time because you've already went to the door and you've kind of accepted, right, I'm going to take this 5 minutes out of my session to give this person a day pass. I think it's important also to establish that boundary with them. Like, look, like, I mean, I know you say that it's because sometimes you might not be in training, but I think it's also important that they know, look, that's you're not on the clock at that time. You
yeah,
know, it's not really fair on you.
yeah. Like, I wouldn't rock up at Tesco's at 5:30 if they don't open till 6. Like,
You'd get
and
shut,
stand
you'd get thrown
outside
away, wouldn't
getting
you?
antsier and antsier because I'm like, no one's there to let me in. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's people must just think that it's different because of the fact that it's the gym. I mean, you wouldn't get pissed off that a train's not arrived at 12:15 when it's like only 12 o'clock.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's meant to arrive at quarter past.
Yeah, but
So
it's like you say, I just want everyone to be able to come in and use the facilities, and
yeah,
it's for me finding the balance between a work life, a work and like home life balance. I think because it can get stressful, and you don't want to bring work home with you, certainly. So if I can leave and make everything as stress free as possible. Not that it's ever stressful at the forge, ever. It's really not. Like, apart from on the days where someone has happened to sneak in, I don't really have anything to complain about. So
yeah,
I'm
it
very
makes
lucky.
for interesting kind of like gossip talk like later on in the day, though, doesn't it? It's
Yeah, yeah,
like, you won't believe what this person did earlier.
I know. Yeah, because we've taken to embarrassing them on social media, and we never name anybody. But I don't. I think that like if you sneak into the facilities and you have the intention of paying, in some circumstances which we have had in the past, I think it's well within our right to kind of drop you a message and say, that's not cool, dude. Like, that's not
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
I think the thing that I've always found with the Forge is, like, as long as you are there and you're respectful, you follow the rules, you'll be met with open arms.
Yeah.
But I think if you take advantage of that and, to put it bluntly, take the piss, then you will be told.
Yeah.
You know,
Not by
I
me,
think
because
that's
I'm too
important.
much of a diplomat, but
You
like,
just better hope that Dean's not there.
yeah. Well, I'm
or
not
part of
saying I wouldn't tell people off.
that.
I'm sure people would rather be told off by me than told off by him. So he probably used the C word a lot.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
Um, so I think that was all of the topics that I wanted to go over, Louise. Let me just double
amazing.
check. Yes, it is. So, yeah, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap things up?
No, like my nerves subsided over time, and hopefully I wasn't your most dull, boring guest that you'll have on.
No,
Like
it's been good because
it's so
it's been a
easy
different
because
topic
we know each other
altogether.
so well. Like conversation is like it's just like chatting to a mate kind of thing. But I was
Exactly.
very aware that I watched your last podcast with Andy, and I'm very aware of like following someone like that on your podcast. So yeah,
Yeah,
and but
it's good
just
though.
doing what you're doing as well because this is cool. Yeah, it's really good. Like I'm chuffed for you, especially with the
Thank you.
clothing line coming as well. So yeah,
Oh, it's going to be so good. I'm
yeah,
really excited for
really
that.
sick.
That's been a whole new thing that's been kind of just extra stress at the moment trying to get that launched, but it's going to be so worth it.
Yeah,
So, really looking forward to that.
amazing.
But yeah, we actually had a meeting with Enrico last night about marketing stuff as well. So, we will
Good.
be very much looking to post some content very soon.
Good.
Don't have the physical copies yet to actually start selling, but we want to try and keep the hype that's there because I think a lot of people are excited about it.
Yeah, good. You listen to my advice.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I said that to Enrico. I was like, "This is actually Louise's idea."
It's the
So
thing
that'll be
when you're
good.
building a brand, you have to hustle. You have to hustle. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming on, Louise.
Thank you, dude. Thanks for
Um,
having me.
no problem at all. I'd imagine that this will get posted because obviously I'm away on holiday tomorrow, so I'll probably post this once I get back. So
Amazing.
it'll be maybe like the Saturday or something like that. But yeah, thank you very much.
Cool.
And we will speak to you all shortly. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, dude.
Let's just try and stop.